Dividing decimals. Example 1. A welder cuts a 72-inch steel plate into 7 equal pieces. There is 0.1 inch waste on each cut. So there are 6 cuts, so a total of 0.6 inches of the waste. What is the length of each plate after it's been cut? So we can visually kind of think about this, but before we do that, let's go over a few things on decimals. So we do not want any decimals in the divisor, which is also the front number. This would be, for instance, this would be our divisor here. And then what we would do was we would move the decimal in both the divisor and the dividend. And this is our dividend. And then what happens is if we run out of digits, all we can do is we can just add zeros. And then after dividing, we move the decimal straight up. So we'll go over an example. So let's first visually think about this. So we have a steel plate. We need to make 7 equal pieces. So that means we have 6 cuts. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives us 7 equal pieces. Now, for each cut, we lose 0.1 inches. So there's a total of 0.6 inches lost. So what we need to do is take the 72 inches and then subtract from this 0.6 to give us our new length that we'll then divide. So we have this 0 minus 6, which can't be done. So we need to go ahead and borrow from this 2. This becomes a 1, and we borrow a whole 10. So now we have 10 minus 6, which is 4. Bring down the decimal straight down. 1 minus 0 is 1, and then we have 7. So now we have 71.4 inches as our new total for the length of it, because we know we're going to lose some in the length for each cut. So now we have 71.4 inches, and we're going to go ahead and divide that by the 7 because we want to figure out the length of each piece. So we have 7 now going into 71.4. Now we do not have a decimal in our divisor, so we can just go ahead and start dividing. So 7 can go into, we can look at this first number, and it goes into it the 7 one time. Because 7 times 1 is 7. We go ahead and subtract, and we get 7 minus 7, so that's 0. The next thing we do is bring down the next digit, which is a 1. Now 7 can't go into 1. So we're going to go ahead and place a 0 above because 7 can't go into 1. So 7 times 0 is 0. We go ahead and subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. Then we go ahead and bring down the next digit, which is 14. And we see that 7 can go into 14 2 times. So we put a 2 below because 7 times 2 is 14. We subtract and we get 0. And then the next and final step would be to bring that decimal straight up. And we would say the total length of each cut is 10.2 inches. Now let's do another example. Example 2. We have 3.2 going into 50.7744. So when we do this, we can go 3.2, and we're going to take this 50.7744. Now, we see we have a decimal in this divisor. So we're just going to go ahead and have to move it over 1. So now we have 32. But whatever we do to the divisor, we have to do the dividend. So we would also move this over 1. So now we have 32 going into 507.744. Now 32 can't go into 5, but it can go into 50. So 32 can go into 50 one time. 32 times 1 is 32. We subtract and we get, we're going to have to borrow from the 5, so 10 minus 2 is 8. 4 minus 3 is 1. Next we bring down the 7 and we look at 32 going into 187. So let's go ahead and guess that we can do this 5 times. So let's go ahead and multiply. So we have 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. Now 3 times 5 is 15, plus we add this 1, so that's 16. So we have 160. So if we added another 32, that would put us over this number. So this is the perfect number. So 32 can go into 187 5 times. Because 32 times 5 is 160, we go ahead and subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7, 8 minus 6 is 2. Now 32 can go into, as we bring this down, 277. And we ask how many times can it do that. So let's go ahead and look. So 32. Now we know if we were to go 3, if we were just to take out one digit from the 3 and the 7 here. So 3 can go into 27 about 9 times. But let's just do 8. But first, let's go 32 times 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So if we go ahead and add a 32, that would put us over this number. So we're just going to go 32 can go into 277 8 times. So we put 256 below, and we're going to go ahead and subtract. The next thing we do is we get 7 minus 6, which is 1, 7 minus 5, which is 2, and 2 minus 2, which is 0. So we get 21. Our next thing will be to bring down this 4. And then we ask ourselves, 32 can go into 214 how many times? So based upon this 32 times 8 equals 256, let's go 32 times 7. 2 times 7 is 14, carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22. So that's actually too big. So let's do 32 times 6, because this 224 is bigger than 214, so we need to go 1 less. 2 times 6 is 12, carry the 1. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So you have 192. So we would say 32 can go into 214 6 times, so we get 192. We go ahead and subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then we need to borrow because this 1 minus 9 can't be done. So we borrow from the 2, make that a 1. Now we have 11 because we borrowed a whole 10. So 11 minus 9 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then our final step will bring down that 4. Now 32 can go into 224 how many times? Well, we just did this right here. It's 7 times. So we put a 7 above, and 32 times 7 is 224. We go ahead and subtract and we get 0. So now we're done with the dividing part, and then our final step will be to bring the decimal straight up, and our answer would be 15.867.